Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Mike Catalana with you tonight as we head into the holiday weekend. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. I'm in tonight. Dan working at Channel 13. Jenna with a few days off. This is what we're trying to do, much like the Buffalo Bills, as you get set for the regular season. Everybody getting a few days off because it's going to be a long stretch, 18-week season coming up starting next Thursday as we all head to LA. Okay, let's get things started tonight. What I wanted to do was answer some questions. So we went on Twitter, got some questions. And if you're just picking up this video and didn't ask one, I think the people who responded on Twitter gave us some good suggestions of topics to talk about tonight. So let's get right to it. And let's start with some of the questions we got. We'll start with, wants to know if there's going to be a significant upgrade in the run defense this year. I think there's a real good chance for that. I think when we talk about that front six of the Buffalo defense, because you know they're going to be playing the nickel corner all the time, or the majority of the time. I think it was 85% of the time last year. You're talking about the front six. For the main people in the run defense. And, of course, you need support from the corners and the safeties, but it really gets done up front. And I'm going to pinpoint Ed Oliver right here. I think he's just going to have a monster year. I think Von Miller next to him is a huge thing for the attention that he's going to get. And I think it's going to help Ed in terms of his ability to pressure from the inside in a pass rush, but also to just swallow up ball carriers in run defense, or at least occupied defenders. I think Ed Oliver is going to be big this year. I think he's got a chance to be not just a Pro Bowl player, but an all-pro player on that defensive line. And the other thing you got to look to is Tremaine Edmonds. And it's a big year for him. It's a big year for him to get the next contract. And, you know, we talk about this a lot. Tremaine taking that next step with splash plays. But I'm going to point back again to a guy like Ed Oliver and Von Miller and say they're going to occupy blockers. And I think Tremaine Edmonds is going to be running free a lot of times and being able to make plays. Sure, we'd like to see TFLs, tackle for loss. But we also want to see a more consistent run defense. And I think there's an outstanding chance that happens. Will also had a couple other questions, these involving the wide receivers. We'll talk more defense in a minute. The role for Khalil Shakir, the rookie. Dan Fates and I and Jenna, we've all talked about this. As a rookie, I think what he's shown is the same thing Gabe Davis showed when he came in, and that's the ability to play multiple positions. He can be that guy for Ken Dorsey in the offense. I think he's going to get snaps on the outside. I think he's going to get snaps in the slot. I think he is going to be a guy that surprises people, maybe by the amount of snaps that he does get, because he can fit him in everywhere. I remember, Brian Daboll talking to us about Gabe Davis and saying, man, that's the thing about Gabe. I need him on the outside. Hey, Gabe, get in there. Or I need him in the slot. He can do it. Knows the plays, knows his role, and is consistent. And it's asking a lot of a rookie. It doesn't happen. Doesn't even happen all the time with number one picks, let alone guys that were in the 4th or 5th round. But I see similarities in Shakir. He reminds me, and I'm not the only one to say this, of Robert Woods. He's a smooth route runner, just the way he glides. He's not a burner, but he's not slow. He's not big. He's not small. I just find him to be a guy who goes after the ball, and I think he's going to force them to give him more of a role. Now, he's a rookie, so we don't know until he shows it. Like, he's going to have to prove it to them they can trust him. But, yeah, I'm a big fan of his, and I think he's going to end up being a consistent contributor to the offense this year. And Will also asked about Chad Hall. I think about this all the time. I've never seen a coach, I shouldn't say never. I've rarely seen a coach who seems to enjoy his job more than Chad Hall enjoys being a wide receivers coach. And, I saw something was tweeted out the other day about him. I think it was Matt Bove in Buffalo. And it was Cole Beasley who responded to it about the positivity about Chad Hall and the job he's done. And you ask any of the guys playing for him. I mean, they're all different personalities, and Chad Hall seems to get to all of them. Gabe Davis, Steph Diggs, Isaiah McKenzie. It's an interesting room when you got them together. Chad Hall's shown that. So the question is, can he get to that next level? And he's going to need, the ability to move up. And you don't see it that often, right? You see it from quarterbacks coaches, maybe that move up to be coordinators. Honestly, I think Chad Hall's got head coach written on him. Maybe not to step right into the NFL level. Maybe he's the kind of guy that could move into the college ranks and become a head coach. I think he's got that kind of leadership. In the NFL, I don't know if getting from wide receivers coach, again, you don't see it that often, becoming an OC, he knows offense, he knows the game, he knows technique, which is what's gotten him to where he is. So he's a guy to keep an eye on. I think the Bills have been very fortunate to keep him for as long as they have, and he's done a lot of great things. Randy asks about Spencer Brown and, him coming off the injury, his role, the impact that Aaron Cromer, the offensive line coach, will have for him. And look, I think they really like David Quessenberry. I always want to say Quisenberry, and anybody close to my age or older will remember Dan Quisenberry, the pitcher for the Royals, sidearm guy. We're going back a few years. But I think they're very happy they have a guy with his experience that can play. But come on, they want Spencer Brown to win this job. And when I say want him to, that's their goal with him. Coming off that injury, a little slow in camp. We'll see where we are. They keep things pretty quiet at practice. He's gotten more snaps, but we'll see where they are when they take the field against the Rams. But this is why they went for veterans as backups this year. This is what they want. They want the ability, if they have to put guys in for the younger players or the guys who've been starters, they want those guys to have experience. And Quessenberry does. But, Spencer Brown, you guys know, he brings that physical nature to the offensive line. He showed that. And to me, honestly, he was inconsistent last year. He was either dominant in some games, running people over, or struggled, and it was mostly in the pass game. And that right side has caused the offensive line problems. So I think he's going to be a starter. I don't know if it's week 1. I think, again, that's what they want. I think ultimately he will be, but we'll have to wait to see what happens. Bill asks a question about Kaiir Elam and Christian Benford. And he says, if in these 4 games they show enough, do you think that would impact the Bills' decision-making on Trey White? Now, you guys know what Trey White faces, where it's 4 games before he can practice. Then he comes back, and he got to ramp right up there. He cannot practice with the team while he's on this level. So it's interesting because then they have week 5, week 6, bye week, week 7. And listening to, Brandon Beane talk and Sean McDermott talk, I think Beane said Trey's going to play a lot of games this year. I certainly think if he's going to miss 4, he can certainly miss 6. But I don't necessarily know if they're going to have Trey White be impacted that much. I'll say this. Be a nice problem to have. Be a nice problem for them to have if these 2 rookies, and I still think there's a place for them to bring in a veteran. I'm waiting to see if they do. But for these 2 rookies to play well enough that if Trey's not quite there, they feel comfortable doing that for a couple of games. But when Trey's ready, he's coming back and he's starting. So we all know that. But, man, wouldn't it be something to see these 2 guys step right in? We've talked about it a lot here. Leslie Frazier, I asked him that time about these guys having confidence, and he laughed and he said, I know what's coming even if they don't. What's coming is Thursday, the first game of the regular season. And Leslie said they got a big old bullseye on them as rookie corners. So let's see how they react. There's going to be mistakes. They're going to come after them. We know the Rams are. So let's see how they hold up. But they're going to be playing, both of them. I think they're both going to get a ton of snaps. It could potentially impact that, but Trey's got to be right to be back. It's a big injury. It's taken a while. It's all relative from a knee injury. They want him to be ready. So I think if there's a real problem, you may see a veteran come in. If not, Trey's going to come back when they believe Trey's ready. And if that means a couple more weeks and buy them that, and now you get Trey from game number, let's see, it would be game number 7 on. So he's getting the last, what would that be, 11 games? No, 11 weeks. So he'd miss 6. Yeah, he'd have 11 games left. I'll take Trey White for 11 games, and these guys show enough to be able to come into games and play and be ready in case of an injury. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at that. Speaking of young guys, we talked earlier about Khalil Shakir. Sam asked about James Cook and his role. I think that's really going to be interesting to see. We've talked a lot about the role of the running backs over the last few years, but let's be honest. We try to differentiate what Moss brings and what Singletary brings, but I think they're similar players. I think Moss, you talk about him in short yardage, yeah, he maybe is a little stronger. Singletary, maybe a little shiftier. I get it. Neither is a great pass catcher. Moss probably a better pass blocker than Singletary. But I think when you bring in James Cook, you want him to be that guy. You want him to be that difference maker, I believe, in the pass game with the ability to run the football. He's got to show he can protect Josh in those moments, because it's going to be somebody probably coming free. And James Cook better be ready because you don't want to get Josh Allen plastered to the ground because your rookie running back missed a block. And they've had pretty good success with both Singletary and Moss back there helping, but the rookie's got to be ready for it. But I think they want him to have a role and a big role. I think they see that as a real benefit to the offense, and they've invested in him. We talk about they've invested in running backs. They really have, and they haven't gotten that part of it. Maybe a little more explosive, certainly a pass catcher. So I think they want that. Does it mean week 1? I don't know. Does it mean, if you're the Rams and you're getting ready for the Bills, you don't know what you're getting out of James Cook. And they kind of did a pretty good job. I mean, he did catch some passes and he's out there, but it's not like everybody's expecting him to be on the field for 40 snaps the first game. So I don't know, but I guess we're going to find out pretty quickly over this first month at least if he has a regular role in the offense. Because they're a passing team first, and having a back that can really contribute in that way, I think would be a really good thing. Let's see. Lowe, I think it was Lowe, that asked about the role of Super Bowl favorite, the narrative of Super Bowl favorite. We've talked about this a lot. You can't pretend it's not there if you're the players. Like, what we think doesn't matter when I say this. It's not impacting the way the Bills play on the field, but it is something, isn't it? They're taking the field in LA against the Super Bowl champs as the favorite in that game to knock off the Rams in the first game. And they are the betting favorite or one of the betting favorites to win the Super Bowl. And Josh Allen is the favorite or one of the favorites to be the MVP. I like what they said in the beginning, way back in April. They've earned that. And I think they should embrace it. It's knowing that there's going to be some ups and downs this year. But what are you going to do? Pretend that you're not? I think they were the best team in the NFL at the end of last year. Come on, we all know. They should have beaten the Chiefs. They would have beaten the Bengals. No disrespect to the Bengals. They're a really good team, but they were not coming into Buffalo to win that game. They beat the Chiefs, and it surprised a lot of people in that second half. They were not beating the Bills in that game, and I think the Bills would have beaten the Rams. I think they were the best team in the league. No one was playing better than Josh Allen, but Josh Allen has embraced the pressure and gotten better really each year, certainly. And last year, like I said, in the playoffs, you couldn't play much better than him. I don't know if any quarterback in history has played 2 better games than him and not either gotten to a Super Bowl or won a Super Bowl. It's just incredible the way he played. And they get knocked out in that second playoff game. So embrace it. Everybody's going to be talking about it. They're going to be saying on Thursday that it's the very good chance that this is the Super Bowl game that we see, 21 weeks later, because the Rams won it last year and the NFC's weaker and the Bills are one of, if not the favorite in the AFC. So I say embrace it. I say if it adds a little, I'll say pressure. You want to call it pressure? Go ahead. But they're past that point. They know it. And I think there is a level of pressure because they've been good. They've been good the last couple of years. AFC Championship game, one of the great games of all time that they should have won. everybody's waiting for them to make that next step. So they can't hide from it. So I think that's something. Dylan asked about the position group that we're most interested in seeing, and we already talked about it on Thursday night. I mean, it's the corners. There's no doubt. I mean, Dane Jackson is a starter, and he's going to likely be a starter even when Trey comes. I mean, we don't know how that's going to play. But you're talking about Dane Jackson, a 7th-round pick, and then you're talking about 2 rookies. Even though Elam is a number 1 pick, he's still a rookie. And Christian Benford has looked really good in camp and in the preseason. He's still a rookie. Taron Johnson is the grizzled vet of the corners, and he's playing in the slot, and he's about as good as you get in the league. And it's a comfort level for the coaches knowing they have him and obviously the 2 safeties. But these corners have to hold up. And that's Cooper Kupp out there running. Probably the best wide receiver. I think voted the best wide receiver in the NFL. And they're going to find a way to get him on the rookies. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. They're going to find ways to get him on one of the rookies or both of them at different times. So it's obviously the place you got to look. That's what you want to see. I think you know a lot of what the Bills already bring to the table. But I think over the last 2 years, that change, the only thing that's really close to that is in difference makers is bringing in Stephon Diggs 2 years ago and changing the way your offense wide receiver position was played. But at the moment, man, the change at corner, I mean, Levi Wallace, again, I say it every time. I'm a Levi fan. I like the guy. I'd like to still have him on the team. You know, you didn't know it was going to take Trey this long to come back, but I liked having Levi. I think you'd be happy with Levi on the team. Go ahead in the comments, tell me you wouldn't be, at least for a while. But now you've gone to Dane Jackson, who filled in admirably at the end of the year after Trey got hurt, and then a couple of rookies. So I'll be out in L.A. That's what I'm going to be watching. And Primetime Bill said, what's the most intriguing game after the opener? And he said, I think he said he might be partially a Lions fan, likes the Lions. He said the Thanksgiving game against the Lions. It's Thanksgiving Day. It's the Lions. I don't know if I would pick that game. We'll see how the Lions are this year. Maybe they're a little bit better. I think it would be an interesting game if Sean McDermott did go out in the field and wrestle or fight against Big Man Dan for the Lions. You know, he made the joke on the podcast about taking on him, and I think it was from the Titans head coach talking about taking on both of them at the same time. You know, McDermott always with the jokes. I don't think that's a game. Obviously, that Chiefs game is going to be great, right? Going into Kansas City again, it's a 4:25 game. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to see. I think when you look at the schedule, honestly, early on, I'm really looking forward to the Bills going down to Miami. I want to see what the Dolphins have. You know, the Dolphins have big, big circles on that game, like the Bills used to have the big circles on New England and probably still do. But Miami has improved their talent level, changed the coaches, changed a lot of things. So that's one I'm really looking forward to. The end of the year, that Bengals game obviously is huge. You know, those kind of games, you got Green Bay coming in, all of them are fun. But that Chiefs game in Kansas City, again, the rematch, the team that knocked you off twice, 4:25 start. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see. Let me give you an update on what's going on. So I said about the game in L.A., Jenna and I are heading out to Los Angeles on that Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll be reporting from there starting on next Tuesday. Wednesday, we have our show. It's live, 7:30 to 8, right here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. If you're in Rochester, you can see it on 13 Wham ABC. If you're in Buffalo, you can see it on Fox 29 in Buffalo, 7:30 to 8. But you can watch it right here. And we'll have coverage. Dan Fates will be back in the studio. That's the way we operate during the year. So 2 of us go to the games, 1 of us back in the studio. All of us contribute right here. I think you'll enjoy the show. It's going to be a little bit different than our regular Buffalo Plus Live, a little more stories, still your comments. All of those things will be part of it. And we'll probably bounce up live from LA before the game on Thursday too. to take your questions. So we have that going on. We'll have our podcast up and going. Oh, and by the way, I recorded the video after the Bills got to the 53-man roster. A couple of quick things I want to apologize for. Number one, yeah, me like a dummy. I had my microphone a little too close to the shirt. You know, old man problems here. But I didn't have my regular equipment. I was visiting my daughter and her husband. I was at their apartment. That was all her stuff. My granddaughter was out, and you might have heard her crying a little bit in the background. They even have a couple of cats that try to jump around in the room. They didn't show up on the video. So the microphone scratching there a little bit. That was an old man problem on me. Back to the Shure mic here. So you will see that. And then we're going to start presenting videos from the opponents, from the city, what they're saying in those cities. We've got a couple quick ones coming up. LA next week. And then Tennessee. Each week we'll talk to a reporter in the visiting city and get their thoughts on what's being said in that city about the Bills coming into town. So you get a chance to check that out too. So I hope I answered your questions. If you have any more, just post them here. Post them on the site. You know, we love to answer the comments and the questions. The whole team will be back together at the beginning of the week, and we're looking forward to 4 months plus of coverage of the Buffalo Bills as they make their run to what they hope is a Super Bowl. So that's going to do it for me. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel.